What you're about to watch is from Proper XL, and it's about the rise of Christian R&B. Check this out, y'all.
I'm loving this new wave of Christian R&B.
Christian R&B.
Christian R&B. Christian R&B.
Now, Christian R&B is by no means technically CHH, but without a doubt, I just had to put Christian R&B at my #1 spot on this list for moments in 2024. Christian R&B is something that I believe people have been anticipating for years on end for, as it's quietly snowballed into collective demand over the last 6 to 7 years. There was a growing community of people affiliated to or adjacent to Christian hip-hop that were really more suited for a sound and space outside of hip-hop. But at the time, it wasn't big enough to just give it a name yet. There were some artists that you could tell who were purely concentrated.
Yeah, so my story is I grew up in a family that did music. So my parents, they toured with people like Kirk Franklin and did stuff with Fred Hammond and David Crowder. And so they technically would have been a Christian R&B band.
R&B, while others you could just tell that they were flirting or crossing over between the idea of the two. And CHH was just sonically expanding, and it just got to the point that a lot of people were pushing into new genres and avenues. So it was great knowing that at the top of the year, we were really introduced to a rush of new artists and artists that have been floating around who unintentionally burst into this new age or renaissance of Christian music.
And like, they're really, really dope. I'm friends with a lot of these guys, and they just individually are very, very dope people.
Talking everybody from CJ to Don Reddy, Sam Rivera, Stevie Rizo, Aaron Dews, Vasi, Manwell, Madison Ryan Ward, St. James, George Rose, Young Chris, Mike Teezy. You know, this list extends well beyond the artists named inside the video.
Shout out to Mike Teezy too, man. The reason I was able to grow to as many followers as I did in my TikTok phase, it was because of Mike Teezy. So shout out to Mike.
But my point is that you just didn't have a few people dabbling into Christian R&B anymore. It became a seismic collection of artists that opened a gold rush in response to people everywhere. People that weren't necessarily looking for a Christian version or a template of an R&B artist, but rather people that were looking for a Christian alternative to a genre that mainly promoted toxic relationship telling, lustful fantasies, and their own vices. You know, people actually wanted something that spoke life into their introspections of pure love, how to deal with breakups, the idea of marriage, and much more.
Yeah, and you know, I think people are like really tired of the typical R&B thing, and that's why these guys are afraid of this, because we got something new coming, you know, and it's really, it's about to blow up.
A place where original R&B used to be, and a place that I think made it acceptable to trend this term used a lot in 2024, Christian R&B, or CR&B for short. And ultimately, I think a big moving piece for next year is definitely seeing more addition to new creatives in the space.
So real quick, speaking of that, I want you guys to check out my Christian R&B playlist. We're almost at 50,000. I'm trying to get to 100,000 saves in the next couple months, man, because it's a lot of Christian R&B artists that weren't mentioned in this video that definitely need the exposure.
And seeing if any major or independent labels will take their shot at signing any of these artists, as I'd love to see Christian R&B take shape and expand. Plenty of artists under Christian R&B have always shown the ability to produce and write adjacent to hip-hop, as their natural affinity for R&B is what they're more casually inspired by. Though I think it was just a matter of time before a lot of these artists were bound to be in demand. And the explosion of Christian R&B definitely shaped itself well into its own space in 2024, whether if it was through neo soul, pop, blends of gospel, fusion, and more.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I was saying before. You know, like my parents, they did kind of a fusion of a whole bunch of different things. But Urban Street Level, check them out. They're dope.
Though 2025 is hopefully the new dawn and Genesis at midnight for what's to arrive in the distant future.
Every time I would meet people and say, I'm a gospel artist, they'd be like, oh, cool, what's the name of your choir? Or what church do you sing at? And I would be like, nah, not like that. Like, I remember praying on it. And I remember even telling God, like, I'm done with being a gospel artist. That's not working. And I remember praying on it. And, like, I even shed a tear, if I'm being honest. And I was telling God, like, I don't want to do that.
Man, shout out to Stevie Rizo, man. That's a really dope person, man. Stevie Rizo gave me my first feature, like in my new transition of music, and that song is a banger. We close to 1 million streams on that one. Thank you, Stevie. Appreciate you, bro.
It's like, give me something that resonates with the people. My feeling the whole time when I felt like he showed me Christian R&B, I felt like it was a thing that was bigger than me. I didn't feel like he gave me something. I felt like he gave me something to like that to be a vessel of.
Christian R&B is completely on the rise. And if you're not hip to it, please check it out. God is doing some amazing things with that genre, y'all.